gentlemen, put your hands together for Clyde Lewis and the Ground Zero Lounge. Hey, welcome to the Ground Zero Lounge. How y'all doing?
That's awesome. You know, tonight is going to be a very interesting night because, you know, we all get together here at the Ground Zero Lounge for a number of reasons. Some of us get together here because we want to be enlightened. Some people want to get here because they want to talk about the latest conspiracy theory. Tonight I'm going to talk about stupid ideas like this fucking cigar. Really dumb idea, but it's here to prove a point. I'll tell you all about it in a minute. I went to a get-together the other night. I was sitting around with a bunch of people, and we were all talking about how the world was going and everything else, and a lot of weird things were going on. A few of them were a little stoned, you know. You get to the party and people get a little bit stoned and toke up and start talking about shit. We were watching television. I saw something new on TV where they actually now are wrapping your hash browns, your eggs, and your bacon in a huge wrap, and they're serving it to you now. It's like stoners are ruling hamburger joints, right? I mean, they did it with Kentucky Fried Chicken too. They get that big bowl and they fill it full of shit, and you're supposed to like that shit, right? But it's because at 12 o'clock at night when you're stoned off your ass, that sounds like a good idea, having all your potatoes and chicken and shit all put in one big bowl. And then now they put a biscuit on top of it to top it off, you know? And so I'm thinking to myself, yeah, this is getting to be really stupid, you know? People with stupid ideas are beginning to rule the world. And not only that, but how many people have seen the Carl's Jr.'s commercials? Have you guys seen those commercials on TV by applause? Anybody see those? Anyone? Yeah. I want to know, when are they going to start fucking the hamburger? I mean, you notice now that they're like eating it and everything drips off and he's got shit all over his face, his girlfriend's wiping it up, and this one chick's riding like this cow and you're seeing her ass move while she's eating the hamburger. I mean, God, you know, when are they going to fuck it? I just want to know when they're going to fuck the hamburger. I'm waiting for it. But anyway, the reason why I brought the cigar out on stage is because I want to demonstrate something to you, and then I'll put the cigar out because I hate fucking cigars. I had to bring it and everything, but what we found here was that I had this story told to me about this guy, and for 5 years he had this idea. And this idea he thought was the greatest idea of all. He wanted to create an ashtray. And this ashtray was supposed to be an ashtray that was known as a safety ashtray. It was an ashtray that would protect stoned people and drunk people from killing themselves. And so I present to you the ashtray. And this is an amazing invention because not only does this ashtray it starts beeping. It starts beeping. See the light going on? Here. There's a smoke alarm built into the ashtray. I'm not shitting you. And not only that, but it also, if you put a lit cigar or a lit cigarette in the ashtray, it burns, and if it stays there for too long, the alarm gets louder and more obnoxious. Okay? And not only that, but the more it burns, the louder it gets, and the strangest part of all is the plastic that's surrounding the ashtray is flame retardant. So it won't burn anyway. So I sat there and I said, you mean to tell me this guy thought of this for 5 years and he came up with this ashtray that's completely worthless, right? It is. I mean, an ashtray with a smoke alarm. That doesn't make any sense. I think it's really stupid. But I thought I would demonstrate that to you to demonstrate how people who have good intentions sometimes and they have these great ideas and they say this is going to change the world. Sometimes those great ideas and those ideas to change the world aren't necessarily what we need, okay? And they're not necessarily going to work out for people. And that's why I brought this ashtray today, because I wanted to demonstrate that to you. But I also want to bring up a few things that I brought up last week. And for those of you that weren't here last week, I talked a little bit about the possibility that this election that we're in the middle of is one huge psyop. It's a psychological operation that is eventually going to lead us into what is known as the clash of civilization. And for those of you that think that I'm barking up the wrong tree here with the clash of civilization, I want you, when you get home, to Google something called the Project for the New American Century. The project for the New American Century was devised by Dick Cheney and a few other people because they wanted to basically pattern out the blueprint. They wanted to put out the blueprint of what they wanted to see happen in the future for all of us. And that, of course, is a blueprint for a police state, which we would be in the middle of this police state because we wouldn't have the right economy and we wouldn't be able to trust each other, because we wouldn't be able to trust each other through religious division, racial division, and several other divisions as well. And they're implanting this in all of us, and we're becoming robots following us. Now, more of the educated people can see that this is a ploy to get us to get angry at each other, to get us to fight amongst each other. And I have talked on this stage, and it all went back to the time where Michael Richards, remember Michael Richards? He was the comedian that got up at the Comedy Store and started shouting racial epithets at these black guys who were there. I had said that this is the beginning. This is going to be the beginning of something called the Clash of Civilizations. 2 weeks after that happened, we heard about those cartoons. We heard about those cartoons, those Muhammad cartoons that they published, and all these Muslims went crazy about it. They did it because they were offended, and we couldn't figure out why they were offended. Why? Because we're not Muslims and we don't know why. We don't know why people get offended by this, but they do. And see, the people who are engineers, who are social engineers, know what our hot buttons are. And they're going to press those hot buttons until something flares up, and when it flares up, then they have every reason to call out the army, to call out any military, to overturn posse comitatus and turn our country into a police state. Because what that does is it fortifies the military-industrial complex, something that Eisenhower warned us about for a long time. He can't say anything now because he's dead, but a lot of people won't remember that he told us, beware of the military-industrial complex and how they are planning on encroaching upon our human rights. Now, tonight as I'm speaking on this stage, there are a few things about the Ground Zero Lounge I want to tell you about before I move any further. One, we are being broadcast on the internet right now. Two, if you have something to say, I would like for you to say it on the microphone. Don't heckle me because I can't see you. If you're talking from the audience, I can't see you and I can only think you're a heckler and I will treat you like one. And I'm not nice to hecklers, okay? And so, if you want to say something, there's a microphone here and a microphone here. If you want to argue with the person, you can get on the other microphone and argue with them. And that is how this works. And that way we get a lot of shit off our chest, and we find out where everybody's at and what they feel and how they're thinking about what's going on with elections, what's going on with what's going on with the world, and what's happening. Okay? Yeah. There you go. That's how it works. So furthermore, talking more about what's going on with this PSYOPs. Today, a man by the name of Jeff Davis, who's a representative from Kentucky, said the following statement about Barack Obama. We shouldn't have that boy pressing the button. He used the phrase, that boy. Okay? Now you can imagine what is going on right now in the news about some guy from Kentucky using the phrase boy in reference to a black candidate for president of the United States. What is going on is we're going racist, 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 racist. And it's becoming so bad that I think we really, really need to examine what this is going to do and where we're headed. Because if we have to continually watch ourselves and continually watch what we say and people on the whole are well behaved, okay? I think that people know what is bad manners and what isn't bad manners. But I think what's really bad is when we see each other fighting over something fighting over a thought and try to read the mind of someone who uses the term boy in a sentence. We're trying to say, well, this guy's intent is that he's a racist and therefore, he should be ridiculed in the media. And I'm just seeing this war of words. And first the war of the words begin, and then the war with guns and the war with arms and fists, that happens later. And I'm seeing this happen, and I can tell you that if this continues, our next election is going to be an election done in crisis. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, first off, the guy from Kentucky has already issued some sort of profuse apology, just almost on his hands and knees begging for forgiveness.
Right.
Which I thought was interesting. that he so quickly did it after, allowing his deep-seated racism to sneak out.
Right.
Much like the macaca comment.
Do you really feel though that Jeff Davis, when he made that statement, do you really feel he was a racist? Because I remember.
No, I don't think he's a racist, but I think that it's so deep-seated in his Southern sensibilities that it just came out automatically, just like I said, George Allen. Do you remember that name?
Mm-hmm.
George Allen was the presumed leader for the Republican nomination early in the campaign, even before people were announcing, until the macaca thing happened.
Right.
Where he called the guy the racial slur coming from North Africa.
Right.
And his mother was North African. And, so it was obvious that was veiled racism, not even veiled.
Right.
But the other thing, though, that surprised me was that after Barack Obama made the bitterness comments, the so-called slight on people because of religion and guns, Hillary today came out with a commercial using that quote. And so, once again, it's all this internecine fighting going on.
Well, not only that, but remember before that, it was "Goddamn America."
Oh,
it was Reverend. It was the Reverend saying, Reverend Wright saying, Obama must hate America. And so, if somebody uses something that doesn't settle well, you must be either a communist or you're a Nazi or you're something. And this is becoming more and more the norm, and it's going to become worse. It's going to, which once again furthers, and when I say this, people, I am not politically endorsing anybody, because I consider myself a political atheist, which means I don't have faith in the politics of this country. When I say that Obama is a bad idea for America, this is why, okay? And it's not, and people say, well, maybe we ought to grow up and realize that, we have to put our racism aside. It's not going to change people. You cannot change 30 years just like that. You can't do it. Maybe even longer than that. 40 years. If you want to go all back to Kennedy. When do you think our country started taking its downfall? People can go back and say, well, this is the greatest country in the world. Take a look at us. Yeah, if we're such a great country, then this shit shouldn't bother us. We should have at least a thick skin now. But this feigned victimization that we all have is ruining us. I've talked about the victim-savior mentality that they're trying to drum into this with a stupid psyop that they're giving us, a victim-savior, victim-savior. We're no longer victims if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, and that is building towards helping each other and working it out. But we still kind of cringe when we hear 9/11, and we all get mesmerized when we hear that phrase, 9/11. But you know what? It's over. Get moving forward. We can't, yes. Exactly. We can't keep in this victim attitude. You just can't be in the victim attitude and have a healthy country, and we cannot allow ourselves to believe that one man is going to give us change we believe in. Because if we're thinking about one man giving us change, and we're hearing one woman basically going, oh, I can do it too. It's kind of like she's a yap dog, he's the inspiration, and John McCain's just standing there waiting for both of them to kill each other. I mean, is this what we want? I mean, this is why I tell people, I say, I'm losing my faith in my political system because I see this type of stuff going on. Now, is this the media doing this? Do you believe that this is what is really going on? Or do you think that what you are seeing is permitted? I believe it's permitted. And this is what you have to learn, is that everything that you see, everything that is revealed to you is permitted to be that way so that they can see how your attitude is going to shift. Go ahead.
Clyde, do you want change or do you want the whole dollar?
I want the whole dollar. So, actually I want euros because the dollar is not worth shit anymore.
When I hear the word change, I'm thinking we're going to get the pennies and they're getting the dollars. So I'm not sure if I'm for this guy, but you know what I find interesting is the one guy that everybody now is supposedly thinking is the preeminent choice. What's the coincidence that his last name is almost exactly like the villain that supposedly caused 9/11, and his middle name is the other villain that we went after. What is the coincidence of that?
It's not a coincidence.
Does that fall off the map of coincidence?
It's not a coincidence. It's a blueprint. It's permitted. You're right. This is permitted.
And the election before, when he gave the speech in the Democratic Convention, this was before all this shit went down, right? So, doesn't it make you wonder if these things are kind of laid out for quite a while? When the Soviet Empire finally went bankrupt and they said, we need another way to milk the American public and keep the war machine going. What are we going to go for? We're going to victimize a religion. Let's get the religion. We used to be the Catholics and the Protestants that tear each other's hairs out. Let's go after some other religion. So how do we do that? We make everybody hate another culture, another religion.
That's right.
And we've just been sucked into this thing.
And it's all been written out, the Project for the New American Century. If you read the Project for the New American Century, that's exactly what the plan is. The blueprint plan is to create within the United States a hatred between races and religions. And this is what they're shooting for. And I can tell you right now that the buzz is out, and the underground buzz is out about, last week I said the Vatican was in trouble. I had no idea that the Pope was going to be in Washington and New York. No idea. And now they're beginning to talk about how the Pope's safety is in question coming here to the United States. They said the same thing when he was in Turkey. Perhaps he'll be fine. But I'm saying now, this is a very, very crucial time, a very, very weird time, and we're going to start seeing some things happen within the next couple days. You're going to start hearing more and more of this until we can be, and I know this is going to sound outrageous because nobody wants to believe this can happen here. We are close, people, to a civil war in the United States. We are close. We are so close. All it will take is an assassination of the right person. All it will take is the philosophies of one group of individuals that we don't agree with, or we can all agree that's bad, and some people say, no, it's good. Hell, people were even bitching and moaning and crying about how religious freedoms were taken from the people in Texas, those polygamists who were with the Reformed LDS Church in Texas. They were saying the freedom of religion was being revoked there. So we need to be aware of what's going on. And it's not what I believe or what you believe, it's what they in power believe, and that is what they're doing. They are pushing us to that precipice. Go ahead.
Another weird point about Obama and his campaign is, a coworker of mine was looking at a book the other day about the Bin Laden family, history of the Bin Laden family, and their rise to power in Saudi Arabia. And I was trying to remember this name. The name of the fellow, I believe, if I'm right, you maybe can help me with this. He's a consultant on the Obama campaign.
Zbigniew Brzezinski.
He was also a consultant or an agent with the CIA back 20 years.
Yes, he was responsible for Osama bin Laden.
He helped cultivate Osama bin Laden.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nobody knows that.
No, nobody knows that because they don't want to talk about it. Also, David Axelrod, the man who works with Osama bin Laden, also worked with the people who wrote The West Wing. For those of you who don't know, so if you guys are fans of West Wing and you're familiar with the Santos campaign, the Santos campaign is the Obama campaign. So if you want to go and rent the season, find the season with Santos, the Chicano that's running for president. He's running against a Republican that people don't think is that Republican, and a Democrat vice president. This is almost a complete parallel to what's going on right now in this country. And it's happening now, and we're watching it again as a rerun. They first tried it out on TV, and now they're trying it out on you. And many Americans do not know this because they don't want to reveal their secrets. They just want to know that it's been implanted in the mimetic areas and centers of your brain, and that's what's going on. It's just like I was talking about the other day when I showed those pictures of Obama with halos behind him and all these things, and I said, you know, this stuff is pretty freaky if you ask me. They make him look like Jesus Christ, and we all know that that's a setup. They're just setting us up. Go ahead.
Hi. I wrote my master's thesis on the connection between the media and the government.
Okay.
And a lot of my research, I covered a lot of very interesting things. But a direct link to what you're talking about with the portraying reality on television before it becomes reality.
Right.
In 2001, there was a premiere of a TV show on CBS called The Agency with Beau Bridges. And it was about the CIA. And it had a number of actual former CIA agents as technical advisors on the show. The premiere episode was supposed to be of the week of 9/11. And its first episode was about a terrorist attack in the United States by Osama bin Laden. But 9/11 happened, so they pulled the show because they thought, well, that's too close. They pulled it and held back the premiere date about 3 months, November or December. Well, so they decided they were never going to air that episode. The episode they decided to air, they had to pull that as well because it was about anthrax attack in the United States.
Jesus.
And yet these things were actually happening right when they were supposed to appear on television.
Are you familiar with a TV show by the name of The Lone Gunman? It was a spinoff of The X-Files.
Oh, I know what you're going to
You
talk
guys
about.
like that show? The Lone Gunman was a very good show. It didn't last long, and the reason why is because their first episode was called Pilot. The episode was about a terrorist attack on the United States that they were going to blame, and it was being done by CIA agents so they could blame it on the Muslims. And the plot was that a plane was going to be remote control flight into the World Trade Center. And that happened 6 months prior to 9/11. And there was also another movie called, I believe it was called Long Kiss Goodnight, where it talked about the same thing, about a fake terrorist attack on the World Trade Center and how it was going to happen. So if you're wondering why the meme is there for people to believe that 9/11 was an inside job, it's because they saw it in the movies long before it ever became reality. And many people who saw it happen said it was like something out of a movie. Well, of course, New York has been destroyed so many times in the movies that we thought, oh my God, it's just another film. You see, it's just odd that you need to pay attention. The pop culture tends to give you messages long before they become reality, and people like me get up here and say, well, isn't that a little odd that this is happening? People say, oh, he's just a crazy conspiracy theorist, don't listen to him, he's a jokester. Well, yeah, maybe I could be kidding, but I'm very serious about what I'm kidding about. Go ahead.
Well, exactly what you're saying. The media actually uses it, the government uses it for that purpose, because then when you talk about 9/11 conspiracies or things like this, well, you watch too much television.
Right.
I mean, you have the epitome of mainstream Hollywood, Mel Gibson and Julia Roberts in a movie called Conspiracy Theory. And so it becomes so, I mean, the term has been co-opted to mean insanity rather than real, serious things that have happened all through history.
Right, and I always tell people about conspiracy theory. I say, yeah, conspiracy theory is theory. But then when the facts start falling into place, you start saying, well, this is something now that's somehow, how life somehow imitates art, or art imitates life. And you kind of say, well, it's kind of bizarre the way that happens. Kind of weird the way the coin falls, the way the cookie crumbles, and that is true. I mean, pay attention to what the memes have been the past couple years, and you start seeing them transpire. One of the things I find very interesting is, how many people are familiar with the book World War Z by Max Brooks by applause? Couple of you, okay? How many people are aware that just last week there was a human-to-human transmission of H5N1 flu that happened in China? Anyone know about that? A couple of you? Good. There was a young boy who transmitted the disease to his father. The young boy caught it from a poultry farm. And then he transmitted it to his dad, and then his dad finally died of it. And now they've got vaccines for people who want to attend the Olympics. What's really odd is that in World War Z, the zombie, patient 0, was a young boy from China who transmitted it to his father. And what happened was the vaccines went out, and it made everybody into like these zombie creatures, and then the rest is history. But see, this is what's going on now, is that China has sped up to now get a vaccine against this H5N1, and now they're asking people, if you want more safety to when you go to Beijing for the Olympics, you can take the vaccine if you wish. Now, what can go wrong there? Right? I mean, we've been worried about H5N1 being a pandemic for a long time, and these are the things you just don't see. This is the silent weapon here. It's like, you don't see the germs. You don't know if you're walking into a germ-filled room. You don't know if the guy you're shaking hands with is going to give you something that's going to cause your fucking eyes to shit. I call it ocular shitting. You have shit shooting out of your eyes. You'd be so sick. And that's exactly what this stuff does. It does this. And I think that people need to be aware that, they don't want to report in the United States because they don't want anybody not to want to go to the Olympics. But there's a lot more shit going on. This is a crisis again. This is a crisis where they can say, well, we need health care, universal health care for everyone, because if you don't get universal health care, we're all going to get the flu. You got to take the Tamiflu, or we're all going to get the flu. You got to pop the Cipro, or we're all going to get this disease. And who benefits from these drugs? Those sitting on the board of directors are people in the Bush administration and several other administrations. These guys make money off this shit. The guy that's the head of your World Health, the guy that's involved with the United States World Health, is Mike Levitt. He used to be the governor of Utah, and I'm from Utah. Mike Levitt was an insurance salesman, a health insurance salesman. He knows damn good and well who's going to make the money off these drugs and off the sickness. The health insurance companies and also the drug companies. Go ahead.
I wanted to say something about Congress held a closed session on March 14th, and it was only the 4th time in 176 years they've held a closed session. And do you have any speculation what that may be about? Because they've been saying that it might be talking about what was going to happen if the economy fails this year,
Well,
and if there's a civil war.
If there is a civil war,
and
yeah.
there's camps for.
I want to tell you all, and you're going to think I'm crazy, I'm going to tell you, the big underground murmur right now is that Congress and several other people are now planning for the safe transportation between Area B to Area C in case of runs on the banks, pandemics, or even an internet attack. And there are false flag information, there's false flag information going around the internet right now by several people who are in the military. You can look this up. Portland in the media just had it up there. They were saying it was going to be from the 7th to the 20th. Between April 7th and April 20th, there was what is known as a blackout period where all information will be kept from the public. But there'll be a silent false flag drill going on in several states, and it will be announced what states they're going to be. I even heard that they were going to do another quote-unquote top-off exercise at one of the bridges out here, but I haven't been able to confirm it. But one of the bridges, I think it was the Hawthorne or the Steel or something, that they were going to fake a bomb threat, and that this was going to cause, we were going to see how we were going to react to that. But sometimes these things, when they get carried out, they actually happen, and that happened with 9/11, several other things too. Go ahead.
So to finish mentioning that, what states? North Carolina, the new North Carolina driver's license on the back, there's a holograph or hologram, whatever. It's not of the United States, it's of North America.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Interesting.
So that's the...
They're ready for the Amero.
The Amero in May. That's what we're thinking. Go ahead.
Two thoughts that probably aren't related, but they might be. There was a movie, I believe it's called Paradise Lost. It's about a couple of kids that were accused of murdering some 5-year-old.
The West Memphis 3. They're called the West Memphis 3.
Yeah. And HBO filmed this documentary. In fact, that's the same filmmakers who did the Metallica movie about them having a midlife crisis. Got access, and what's amazing to me is how they were basically in on everything going on in this trial, the people talking, and I'm like, this is kind of weird where you would give such filmmakers such access to a murder trial. And it pointed out really the dichotomy of poor, rural. If you watch this movie, you're just like, God, these people are fucking dumb. And
Called Paradise Lost.
and and you've got basically they're blaming the kids because they were apparently dressed in black and listening to Metallica and were quote unquote Satanists. When as the movie evolves, you realize they have like kids will just are interested in stuff that have nothing to do with us at all, and they're accused of murdering these kids, and you just like go whoa, But I think I'm just wondering, why were they given such access to this whole thing where the rest of America could just watch and say, God, those people in the South are so put your word in. You're just thinking, and it kind of falls in what you're saying is like you're just seeing this dualism in America, and you're setting us up for thinking, well, those guys deserve everything they get, And the other point that's probably not related at all, but the thought that just came to me is like, if you want to make America subservient to and I think if we could all come together on a globalist basis, we're probably much better off, but the globalist view of the world, where they want to rule the world and we're just slaves, is not the globalism I want. But if you want to really take America and control it, you take away its food supply.
That's
and to take away its food supply, you take away those little critters who fly from plant to plant to pollinate the plants, because we can't do that, and those are called the bees. And if you know anything about what's going on with the bees in America, we're being fucked over.
The bees are dying. They're dying horrible deaths, and big hives are and they say that as the bees go, so does America go. I want to point out something too. A lot of people who listen to these shows and they're new to the shows, they tend to think that what we're talking about is not relevant to them, because it's not going to get them. You're always thinking that you're going to be fine. It always happens to people you don't know. And it always happens to someone else, but never to you. And you never get caught in a situation where you have to be this way. And it reminds me of an old story from the Twilight Zone where a guy shows up at a guy's door and he has a box that has a big red button on it, and he says, I'll give you $1 million if you push this button, but there's one catch. Someone's going to die. And the person says, well, who's going to die? He says, well, it'll be somebody you don't know. So I'm going to give you a day to think about it, and I want you to think about whether or not you're going to push this button for $1 million. So you wait and you wait and you wait, and then you find out the next day the button's been pushed. So the man shows up at the door and he hands the guy the $1 million, and he says, can I have my box, please? And he says, well, where are you going to take it? He says, I'm going to take it to someone else and offer them the same offer. And he goes, who are you going to take it to? He says, someone you don't know. And that's exactly the way things are in this country. There are a lot of nameless and faceless people out there that are getting murdered and killed every day. And every time it gets worse and worse, your patience gets thinner and thinner and thinner. Now, some people won't get involved. They won't take up arms. They won't shoot to kill. And they won't do anything. They'll just lay back and watch the world happen around them. But there are other people, and I've talked to several people, that have already made deals, and they're just waiting for the word to go out with guns blaring to take over if things don't change in this country. If they see an election that is corrupt, if they see an election don't go the way they want it to go, and we have all these people falling down and crying in front of Obama and praying to him like he's Jesus, and we have another person here who is screaming at the top of her lungs, don't do this, don't do this. We have another guy that's just waiting patiently as he sees everything fall apart. I have a reality check to write out for you. The reality check is that we are becoming more and more and more divided. If race doesn't do it, religion is going to do it. And if religion doesn't do it, then they'll find one other thing, and that is they'll starve you until you decide that you're going to get angry enough to do something about it. I had a guy in the audience about 2 weeks ago get up here and tell me, he says, well, education. I have education on my side. If we're all educated and we know exactly what's going on, nobody's going to do this. Nobody's going to riot. And I told him, I said, what's going to happen if gas gets so high that you can't afford to get to work? Are you going to siphon gas? No, I don't have to worry about it. Why? Because I'm a game programmer. I make a lot of money. I go, what if the damn internet shuts down? Your game shut down. What are you going to do then? Well, I don't know. I don't think that'll ever happen. Well, it may not happen. But, you got to start planning on resource depletion management, people, or you're going to be fucked, and pretty fucked hard when it starts going down. Because in the first 72 hours, if something happens here in Portland, Oregon, or if something happens elsewhere, they're going to go to ground zero before they ever come to you. And that's 72 hours, maybe more, before they reach you. So you got to know what the hell you're doing. You got to get community oriented, know in your community who the doctors are, who the people are that can build shelters, who the people are that have generators, those types of things. And even then, you need to guard that shit with your life. Because when they had those ice storms in the south, people would drive along and find houses that had the power on, and they went in and they took people by gunpoint to take their generators because they needed heat. It was cold. Shit like that happens. And what that is that is little by little how the world ends, just like that. When people start losing their cool, when people start freaking out. And this isn't conspiracy theory, this is reality. And I really don't believe that a man is going to bring change. I don't think a woman is going to bring change. In fact, I don't even think a Republican is going to bring change. What's going to bring change is attitudes from within. That's what brings change. Whatever is coming at you usually comes from within you, and you need to remember this. We can't be so goddamn lazy to think that someone else is going to take care of the problem, because it's not going to happen that way. We all need to take a look at ourselves and say, what have I done today to prepare for the future tomorrow? I need to be prepared for everything that may come at me. I got to be ready. And I'm not telling you not to have a joyless life. We can all live in the moment. We can all live a happy life in the moment. But let me tell you, anomalous things are happening. When you have 600 earthquakes off the coast of Oregon, and your scientists tell you, I don't know what's going on, then you need to understand that if they don't know what's going on, then you need to be prepared because anomalies happen. I talked to Sam Adams the other day. I was speaking with him. He's a mayoral candidate here in Oregon. I spoke with him, and I also spoke with Joe DeSono about resource depletion management, what they're going to do for it. Apparently they're thinking about it because we had a tornado that hit Vancouver, and we had the situation of Vernonia with flooding. Being green is not going to change the problems with the weather. It'll help eventually, maybe 20, 30 years down the road, but right now we have to deal with what's coming at us. Anything from meteors to tornadoes to hurricanes to weather anomalies, and shit happens like that more than terrorist attacks do, and I have said this since 2003. Our money should go to protect in the public safety from natural disasters and civil unrest before we start thinking about terrorism. The terrorism should be confronted on the battlefield, and we're not even doing a good job there because the war is a bunch of bullshit. So where do we go? We have to start talking about these things and not think that we're some conspiracy theorist whack jobs because we're concerned about the health, education, and welfare and well-being of our children and our children's children. What is wrong with planning ahead? And what is wrong with keeping your ear to the ground and hearing a rumor and acting upon it? Hell, who's it going to hurt if you hear that maybe something's going to go down in Portland, you're prepared for it, and it doesn't happen? You have shit left over for when it does happen. You have food, you have drugs, you have water. Wow, that's cool. Well, what if you lose your job? You'll still be able to eat, drink, and have things for a little while, won't you? Thank God you've prepared for that. Thank God you prepared for not having a job, or have you? Oh, I'll get a job. I've got a college education as I'm mopping the floor to school. Yeah, making about $20,000 a year when you weren't making about 45 or 50, right? That guy told me, oh, I don't have a plan B because I know I'll always be in demand. Yeah, I wanted to say, fuck you. You're always in demand, aren't you? Everybody's going to want to play their fucking video games, especially when their computers are out because we had an EMP pulse from some enemy that wanted to fuck up our electrical systems. That's possible. That shit can happen. They can infiltrate our internet, they can infiltrate everything, and they can have banks shut down, and where are you going to be when the bank shuts down? My God, my debit card, what am I going to do? Cash, it works. Remember cash? You have it, it works. Save some cash aside, do something. Do something. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom if you're prepared. It's not all doom and gloom if you're prepared and you're thinking about other people too. It's all about survival, and it's all about not having to get involved in these petty arguments over who's racist and who's anti-Semitic and who's what. Because we're all people who bleed red and we all smell the same in the bathroom. I think so. We all smell the same in the bathroom, right? Right. So anyway, so that is what we need to think about. We need to think about what's coming in the future. We need to stop getting into these petty arguments over race. And I think that it all starts with one person. If you don't think that you can make a difference, you really can make a difference. You really can by start talking about these openly. Find yourself a position where you can talk about it. I don't say talk about it at work because there's HR departments get all pissed off when you start talking politics. But make sure that when you talk to people, you start saying to people, you know, I'm thinking about the future, and I'm thinking about how this is feeling kind of awkward and weird. I mean, if it feels awkward and weird to you, then it is feeling awkward and weird. I tell people all the time, if you are having acid reflux and panic attacks, it's because your gut is telling you that something's wrong. Don't go popping a pill because you feel it. Start doing something to change it. That's why they're giving you all these drugs, because they want to numb you over to the idea that, yeah, your gut's telling you that something is fucked up. Well, why don't you get on the antidepressants? We got like, what, they said like, they had a study, I guess, that there was like 2-point-some-odd billion people now on antidepressants for some reason or another. And it's because, you know, anything from Prozac to any of the milder drugs, the Wellbutrins and the Paxils, they got people on so many antidepressants now that, you know, they're numbing over to all of their problems. And if they can't feel them, then they won't know that it's happening to them. You have those things built into you for a reason. They're your fight or flight mechanisms. And if they're constantly being triggered, it's because you feel it. You know that something's wrong, and you don't know how to change it. Well, first thing you need to do is have yourself prepared, get your friends prepared, and also quit feigning this sensitivity shit. When are Americans so goddamn sensitive? They have become too sensitive. They've become ultra sensitive, and it's all because they want victim. In fact, the sound guy tonight, he was telling me that he was late tonight because the bus swerved to avoid hitting a car. Some woman bumped her knee. She looked fine. She was okay, but she whined and cried until they got a police officer there to take her off because she was so hurt by what had gone on. I'm sure a big lawsuit's going to be given to TriMet. It's going to be a really beautiful thing because somebody just bumped their knee. Lawsuit, I bumped my knee. You know, there are worse things in the world. Go ahead.
You know, even if you're on the extreme conspiracy level and you're waiting for the aliens to come down and save us, we're so far down the path. They're not going to come down here and babysit us. So, I mean, if you want the aliens to come down and say hello and handshake, we got to get ourselves up to a point where they want to come down and shake our hands. Right now, they're looking at us saying,
No, you know what they're saying?
No effing way.
No. You know what they're saying? They're looking down at us and they're going, looks like lunch.
That might be the best option for Earth right now.
And nothing but dumb cows. Let's eat. That's what they're thinking when they look at us. If the aliens care about us at all. Aliens aren't here to save us. They're here to eat us. And until we grow up, they're not going to do much but eat us anyway. They're out for blood, and our blood tastes good. They'll go after the fat ones first, so that's why I'm trying to lose weight. Seriously. Because I can't outrun them. Not with my bad foot. Not after having cancer surgery. I can't outrun aliens. So I might as well just lay down and say, okay, eat me now. I'm ready to be eaten.
Does that mean your new nickname is Kobe Clyde?
Kobe Clyde, pretty much. Depends on how they cut me up. But anyway. But yeah, so think about what I've talked about tonight. Think about, 600 earthquakes off the coast. What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything to you because you didn't feel a fucking thing. Well, that certainly sends up some things to me. And I told Sam Adams, I said, I don't know why, but you guys took funding away from the tsunami alerts that are going to be happening on the beaches, yet we're having these earthquakes out there. They say that there isn't a volcano out there, but you know what? There just might be. There just might be, and it might disrupt the whole mantle system from San Andreas on down. And wouldn't that be a great crisis for us to all be a part of? All freaking out and be scared of. I mean, there's nothing we can do to control the elements at all, although they say they do have control if you believe the conspiracy theories about the weather machines. But what I'm saying is, right now, you should be aware that, yes, the buzz is out there for events to take place on or around the 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. Round in there, right when the Pope comes. Could be just in time for the Pope. And I've been getting calls from people saying, well, have you heard this? Have you heard this? And see, there are things that I can't report to you that are being told to me. I get this information because I'm a former reporter and people know that I will be able to disseminate the information and try to find a creative way to do it. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I got the information about the Oprah cult last week and how they're using this book called A New Earth by a guy named Eckhart Tolle. You can pick up that book at Dante's. It's on the Oprah Book Club, and it's the biggest pile of shit you'll ever read in your lifetime. It's New Age bullshit. But you know what? Oprah's making a religion out of it. You can go to her little classes instead of the Ground Zero Lounge. You can go to her little classes online that you can attend, and they will teach you how to put yourself into a flat thought trance. And Marianne Williamson, another woman who works with Oprah and Friends, she takes all of her material from a book called A Course in Miracles, which was written by a woman named Helen Shugman and a man by the name of Robert Thetford, or William Thetford, rather. William Thetford used to work for the CIA in the MK Ultra program. It's it's record. And the MK Ultra program, for those that don't know, was a program brought over by the Nazis to mind control people. And so if Oprah's using little mind control exercises along with her friends' little mind control exercises, and during those mind control exercises we can get people to believe that Obama is Jesus, then by all means we have Jesus Christ right here, people. And Lord knows what happens to messiahs. Go ahead.
Hello, Clyde.
Hey, welcome back to the Ground Zero Lounge page, everybody. Hey.
Hello, Ground Zero Lounge. You know, Clyde, you were talking about A Course in Miracles, and I knew back in the mid-1980s a bunch of people that were taking this Course in Miracles, trying to take control of their lives. And quite frequently, one of the most profound things that they said was it was a joke that was running around. people would say, I just washed my brain and I can't do a thing with it. You know, and that's what happens. That's what happens when you start washing your brain. You can't do a damn thing with it. And you become sedentary, and you become this person that does nothing for themselves and fully expects their bosses to cover the health care. You expect your family to take care of you when you're infirm. You don't stock up. You don't save anything. And you're a sitting duck when the aliens or the terrorists or the government come for you. And the thing is that what Clyde has said tonight, what I've heard Clyde say, is be prepared. Be prepared. You know, we all learned that in Boy Scouts when we were little kids, you know. Be prepared. Be prepared for whatever the hell's coming or for whatever the hell may not come. But it makes sense. It makes damn good sense. So, you know, I don't see anything wrong with having a little bit of extra, sticking away a little bit of extra cash under your mattress or in your safe or wherever the hell you need it. Just to cover, yeah, gold. Or better yet, the euro. Because the euro is the gold standard when it comes to money. You know, let's be a little bit realistic.
Jay Leno had a show the other night where he was doing jaywalking, and people were unaware that the euro was worth more than the dollar. They all thought the dollar was worth more than the euro. It was the most amazing thing. And this one woman was an economics major in college. She didn't even know what a bull market or a bear market was. And it was frightening to me because people don't know. They just know that money is spendable, that credit cards can be used like money, and then they can pull it out of thin air whenever they need it. But you know what? If the banks were to shut down, and a lot of these banks are doing this, and they're being bailed out, shut down, bail out, shut down, pretty soon, we're not going to be able to print any more money. And pretty soon, we're not going to be able to bail out these people anymore. And then they're going to say, well, it's up to the people to take care of this themselves. And if you're one of those people that believe that your government should wipe your ass for you, then you're going to be in a world of hurt. You're not going to be able to recover from any of it. And that's, I mean, we don't want to hear that, but you know, our grandfathers and our great-grandfathers lived through depressions and problems, and people were offing themselves left and right because they had no more hope, because they had all their faith in their material goods, their homes, their cars, and their investments. And when it all fell apart, they had nothing more to live for, and that's really sad.
The other thing that you mentioned was the medication of the society. And you know, there's a group out there called My Chemical Romance that talks about this very thing, about the Prozac and the Xanax that our kids are taking to keep them calm. Why the hell don't they just go outside and play? Get the hell outside and play. Put down the Xbox controller, go outside and play. I mean, we're all taking these drugs to make ourselves feel better, to make ourselves feel more.
Probably because in large part, our kids have been taught that it's dangerous to go outside and play.
You're goddamn right, it's dangerous. Right. Let's go out.
I mean, I grew up in the 60s where I could go play on Rocky Butte for 12 hours, and my parents would just say, you know, be home at 8 o'clock for dinner, you know?
Well, I get my knees skinned up, and I get myself all beat up and play, and my parents didn't sit there and go, oh, poor baby.
Well, exactly. But the thing is, we have built a lot of fear into our kids, and because of a lot of bad stuff that's happened, and that's why a lot of people keep their kids in and make them sedentary.
Bill Cosby once said this, and he had to preface it with, this is just comedy. He says, you know, parents need to start beating their kids again. And he said, because what happens is they run around, and you're running after them, and you're getting up a sweat, and then by the time you get to them, you can like whack the shit out of them, and they whack back, and it's like one big whack session, and then by the end of it, you're exhausted, and you've had your exercise for the day. But here's whatever happened to good old-fashioned beating.
Here's the reason.
He was saying it in comedy, by the way. Go ahead.
The reason that we are where we are today is that we had the greatest generation that raised up a bunch of hippies. And the hippies became parents to Generation X. And Generation X grew up with a sense of entitlement because their parents were so fucking sensitive. And Generation X has gone out, made their own kids, and we've gone right over Generation Y and created Generation Z. And the little bastards are running around getting participation trophies, sitting on their fat asses, eating Cheetos, and playing Xbox. And they're all oh so fucking
shit, Paige, you sound like an old fart. What's going on here? Gee.
No, they're all so fucking sensitive that they can't get a skinned knee. Little fat bastards that are going to be prime food for when the aliens come down to eat us.
Damn right. Give Paige a hand. That's what you get with a 2-drink minimum. That's good. That's great. That's great. Anyway, before I go, I want to put a little bit of a plug in for something that's happening on Friday, April the 18th. Friday, April the 18th at the Ross Island Grocery, which is a little grocery store, deli hangout that I go to. It's on 3338 Southwest Whitaker, or Corbett. Strike that, it's Corbett, Southwest Corbett. I'm going to be showing a film, and the film is called Word Speaker. The film was written by a man named Dennis J. Sparks, and it is a fantastic film that I had the pleasure of acting in before I went in the hospital. In fact, I thought it was going to be my last hurrah before I had my cancer surgery. Of course, I survived my cancer surgery. I'm very grateful for that. Yeah, thank you. But you know, when you're facing death, you tend to do things a little bit differently. And so I really like. For those of you that know, I've been in a few films, and I'm very uncomfortable with the films I've been in the past. I mean, I had to walk out of The Toxic Avenger because I was just completely befuddled at a green monster with my voice. It just really threw me for a while. But this film, I feel very comfortable with, and I believe in it very much. And so we're going to show it on April the 18th. We're going to do it the right way. We're going to do it like they do with all films that want to go to the Sundance Film Festival and hopefully get medals. We want to have the community see it first and give us their opinion, and hopefully help us out with a little donation to get it well on its way. It's a very good film. And so I invite all of you to go to the Ross Island Grocery this Friday, 3338 Southwest Corbett. It's a small edition of $8. Michael, there's going to be the Carolina Pump Station. Michael Manning and the Carolina Pump Station is going to be there to play. He's kind of like a Grateful Dead type of band, but they're a lot better than Grateful Dead, because I always say that when a deadhead runs out of drugs, he always says, this band sucks. But these guys are awesome, and they're going to play as well. And so I would really like to invite you to come out, because we really believe in this film, and we really want it to succeed, and it only succeed with the help and sustaining of the community at large. People always say nothing good comes out of Portland film-wise. I do believe this is one film that's really going to do well. It's a short, it's only 15 minutes, but it's a short with a great message. And it's a message for all of us, and that is that we need to pay attention to the little things in our lives and not get caught in the loop that is our victim mentality in this world. Coming up, karaoke from hell. I'm Clyde Lewis. This is the Ground Zero Lounge. Thank you so much for coming out. I love you. Good night.